Bueno, muy buenos días a todas las personas que se van conectando a esta sesión informativa de Colfuturo. Como ya lo sabrán, el día de hoy estamos con la Universidad de Essex en Reino Unido y precisamente nos acompaña Emma, ella es la representante de esta institución, que nos va a brindar esa información de utilidad sobre la oferta académica, la universidad, proceso de admisión y toda esa información que ustedes necesitan conocer si desean aplicar a uno de los programas de esta institución. De igual forma, recordarles que Colfuturo tiene un convenio con Essex, que en este caso les podría otorgar un descuento del 25% en el valor de la matrícula, y mencionarles que hay un nuevo convenio que está en proceso de renovación, así que próximamente cuando ya esté firmado les informaremos cuál es este gran beneficio que ustedes podrían tener con la Universidad de Essex. Pero por el momento se mantiene el del 25% de descuento en el valor de su matrícula. Así que si están interesados en llegar a obtener este beneficio, pueden postularse al programa Crédito Beca, el cual abre su convocatoria el próximo año, precisamente el 29 de enero, perdón, el 9 de enero y cerrará el 29 de febrero. Así que tienen ese plazo de tiempo para postularse a nuestro programa Crédito Beca con el programa, con el programa de Essex. Y en caso de que Colfuturo lo seleccione, la universidad les dará este descuento que acabo de mencionar. Así que sin más información, le recuerdo que este año 2023, Colfuturo seleccionó 4 estudiantes colombianos quienes van a realizar su posgrado en esta institución. Entonces, simplemente información para que también la tengan en cuenta. So, with no more introduction, thank you so much, Emma, for being here, and you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Emma, and I work in the international office at the University of Essex, and I would be the point of contact if you were to ask at all about studying at Essex. So let's begin. So just to begin with, I thought it might be a useful start to tell you why the UK is a popular destination with students from all over the world, particularly at a graduate or postgraduate level. So these are some of the highlights, I guess. So typically in the UK, our masters are just 1 year. There are some variations to that if you include a professional placement, or some conversion courses are a little bit longer, but typically you will find that most masters are just 1 year in length. We have a reputation for the quality of our research and our teaching. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the top universities in the UK. They also are some of the top in the world, and often that is because we're known for that quality of research and teaching as well. So you can be sure that if you're coming to the UK to study at a graduate level, that program, that course, that qualification is going to have a worldwide recognition. So in the UK, we place an enormous amount of importance on student support, and this is something I'm going to talk about a little bit at Essex as well. But because a lot of our universities have such a large international student body, we really want to make sure that students from all over the world, UK students as well, feel supported both academically, but also in their general sort of mental health and well-being as well. We have a very high completion rate. So I remember when I first started doing this job, and international students, particularly in the Americas, they would ask me what our completion rates were at Essex. And I'll be honest, I didn't really understand the question. And that is because it's very common and sort of normal, I suppose, for students to complete their program on time, whether that's an undergraduate course or a postgraduate qualification. So we do have very high completion rates. It's a very international experience. Lots of our cities and a lot of the UK has a very multicultural and diverse community, but particularly at UK universities, you will find that there are students from all over the world studying with you. So it really adds to the experience. And then often there are opportunities that students can take advantage of that will really enhance your experience studying internationally, whether that's an international internship or to complete part of your study abroad. There's often experiences to enhance your studies and get the most out of that. As international students, if you're studying in the UK, your visa will allow you to work whilst you study. So there are often opportunities to get part-time work, and there aren't any restrictions in terms of where you work. So if you want to work off campus or on campus, there is that flexibility. The only restriction is the amount of time that you can work. So during your studies, during your term time, you are not allowed to work for more than 20 hours. And that is because the intention is that you are studying full time, but you can work part time to supplement that and earn a bit of money and improve your employability and expand your social networks as well. And the last thing, but certainly not the least, is if you study in the UK and successfully complete your qualification, then you can stay for an additional 2 years. So if you complete a master's qualification, you can apply for a graduate visa and stay for 2 years. If you complete a PhD, it's longer. You can stay for an extra year in the UK, so that you'd be able to stay for 3 years. So there's some of the highlights about the UK, sort of generally speaking, and now I'll talk to you more specifically about my university, which is in Essex. So Essex is a county in the southeast of the UK. We have 3 campuses. Our campuses are located in Colchester, the city of Colchester, the city of Southend, and Loughton. Colchester is our largest campus. It sits on 200 acres of very beautiful award-winning parkland. It is where most of our courses are taught, and most of our students study at our Colchester campus. Southend is a bit smaller. It is in the city of Southend, which is right by the coast or the beach. And it's where some of our business courses, some of our health and social care courses, and some of our East 15 acting courses are located. It has a very, as I said, urban feel and a really supportive student community at Southend. And then our final campus is in Loughton, which is where our East 15 acting programme is located. But most of the time when I am talking to students about studying at Essex, we're talking about our Colchester campus. So I love our location down in the southeast of the UK, and particularly our proximity to London. All of our campuses are within easy reach. Colchester and Southend, you can be in the city within about 45 minutes, which I think is the perfect distance. So we're close to the city, but you do notice a big difference in living costs just being slightly out of the city centre. A fun fact about Colchester, it is the UK's oldest recorded town. So we have some really beautiful Roman architecture and Roman walls around the city itself. And that's a really nice blend with some of the more modern buildings and art galleries and theatres and cinemas that you'll find within Colchester itself. We're not known for our glorious weather in the UK, generally speaking. But where we are in the southeast, we do have some of the UK's best weather. And in fact, we're having a sort of mini heat wave right now, even though it's the start of October. And I believe where we are, just on that east side of the UK, we had some of the hottest days over the last few days. So yeah, you'll need a coat. Do expect it to be chilly if you come and study in the UK, but like I said, down in the southeast we have some of the UK's best weather, and we also love talking about the weather, so get used to that if you're preparing to study in the UK. But like I said, a bit about our location. What I love about it is the fact that we have the best of all possibilities. We're close to the city of London. We're surrounded by some beautiful coastal beaches. The beautiful Essex countryside and lots of lovely towns and villages are all within very easy distance of us. So Essex is a university that is research-led. We place an enormous amount of importance on our research, and we're recognised for the quality of that research. The reason I mention that and talk about that is because what our academics are researching determines what our students are being taught. So that makes up the content of our programme, and we're recognised for the quality of our research. We were ranked in the top 25 for research quality of universities in the UK. At Essex, over 19,000 students study across our 3 campuses and from all over the world. And I'll talk to you specifically about our global community towards the end of the presentation. A recent ranking that just was announced was that Essex was ranked 15th for our international outlook, and that is worldwide rankings. It's not just our students, it's our staff that come from all over the world, and it's also reflected in our curriculum. Now, Essex is a university that is known for our social sciences, and I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about some of our subjects and some of our rankings, but it's usually or typically social sciences that comes out on top, and we're ranked top 10 in the UK for our social sciences subjects. Something that I love about Essex is our interdisciplinary approach to teaching and the flexibility that students have, particularly within our arts, humanities, and social sciences. Students often have the optionality within programs to choose different classes depending on what they're interested in and what their passions are. So it's really an amazing opportunity for students to shape the degree around what they're interested in and what our academics are researching and experts in their field as well. So as well as social sciences, we have another 2 faculties, our Faculty of Arts and Humanities and our Faculty of Science and Health. And then across these 3 faculties, we have 21 academic departments and a lot of subjects within those subjects as well. So you can see, just as an example, a range of subjects and departments that we offer at Essex. So these are some of the rankings that that Essex are most well known for, I suppose, and sort of on the world stage. So Essex, our law school, is ranked 47th in the world by the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, and we offer a lot of different Masters in Law or LLMs. Whether you're interested in maritime or trade law or corporate or business. We also have a new LLM in environmental and economics law, but it's really human rights that Essex is known for in terms of our law. We have a human rights centre that has a global reputation, and we do offer LLMs and masters within the law school that are specific to human rights law. As I mentioned, it's social sciences that Essex is known for, so that includes subjects like sociology, politics and international relations, economics, linguistics as well. So these are the subjects, and that is demonstrated by these world rankings that you can see in front of you. Our business school is the largest of all of our departments, and we offer programs in banking, finance, management, marketing, entrepreneurship, international business, supply chain management, logistics. So there's a lot of different programs that you can study, and business is one of our departments that is split across our Colchester campus and our Southend campus. I should say that you can't choose your campus, so the campus is determined by the program that you want to study. And philosophy is up there as well as being a high-ranking department and subject that we offer at Essex. So just to give you an idea, I thought it might be useful to provide you with some information that Colfuturo students or previous students who have applied for Colfuturo have been successful in their applications. So within our Department of Government, we have a huge range of different masters that we offer, from conflict resolution to our masters in public policy to just a general MA in politics or international relations. But you can see that government comes up there a couple of times at least. Behavioural economics is another one. As I mentioned, our LLM in international human rights. We do have students apply to our Department of Language and Linguistics as well. our Masters in Business Analytics, as well as our Computer Science and Electronic Engineering Masters, and Sociology comes up as well. So the programs that have been applied to reflects very much so what we are known for and our strengths as well. You can check out our subjects. I could talk for quite a long time about the subjects that we offer at Essex, because there is quite a range. So do see this the link that's at the bottom of the screen there, and you can explore those subjects in more detail. So on to student life and what goes on outside of the classroom. I think Essex does a really fantastic job at getting our students involved. We want our students, of course, we want our students to do very well in their studies. That is the number one priority, that they succeed in their chosen subject and course. But we want students to have a really fantastic overall experience and take advantage of all the opportunities that are taking place outside of the classroom as well. We were very proud and happy with the fact that we came out 28th in England for overall student positivity. And the reason that's important is because that's what students are saying about their own experiences studying with us. We have over 160 different sports clubs and societies, including our Latin American Society, which is very active, and I'm very excited to actually be joining their welcome mixer that's taking place tomorrow evening. But it's super active, and they organise all sorts of events and cultural activities that take place throughout the academic year, as well as our sort of cultural societies. We have arts, political and representative. We have music societies. I just found out last week that we have a Taylor Swift society, which got me personally pretty excited. But there's a huge range of different societies that students can join. And if there's not one that you think should exist, then you can even start your own society. Sports is a big thing, especially at our Colchester campus, and we have some amazing facilities, including a sports arena that is fantastic for basketball and volleyball specifically. Both those teams compete at a high level. We have football, we have tennis courts, rugby is a big game as well. We have a gym that is located on the main Colchester campus, which, if you're living on campus, you get access to as part of your accommodation contract. So if you are a sporty person, then there are some amazing facilities that you can use. If you aren't sporty, or you don't play at a competitive level, but you want to take advantage of all the facilities, or to join a sports club for fun, then there is that side of it as well. And we very much welcome those students that just want to enjoy being physical and playing sport. The campus is super sociable, it's super safe as well. We have 24-hour security, but it is a really great place to make friends, especially outside of your classroom as well. We do guarantee housing, so students can live on campus, and I think I have some information that's specific about housing opportunities, but for international students, it is guaranteed. So if you want to live on campus, you can. Of course, we don't make you. If you would prefer to live off campus, then that's perfectly fine. And we actually have an estate agency that can support you with that, if that is your preference. So onto accommodation, you can expect self-catered and mostly single dorm. So that is typical in the UK. You can have your own room that you don't have to share with anyone. Us Brits, we like our privacy, but you'll typically have a shared communal kitchen that will be the social hub of your accommodation. One of the great things, especially at the Colchester campus, is that we have lots of different accommodation options for you. So depending on your own preferences, on your budget, how many people you would like to live with, whether you want your own private bathroom or you're happy to share, there are different options for you. So you can choose which is the best accommodation option. And when you're looking at accommodation at Essex, that the price is inclusive of everything. So there's no additional bills that you need to worry about. It does, in fact, include cleaning of communal areas too. And one of the advantages with living on campus is that everything you could need is all in one place. The Colchester campus especially, it kind of has a mini city feel, where like I said, everything is available to you. Everything is within walking distance, and it makes life super easy. The fact that everything that you could need is on your doorstep, essentially. So this is probably my favourite thing about the University of Essex. It's just how international we are. Almost 40% of our students are from outside of the UK. So I think that really adds to the learning environment. It means that you bring your own experience and life perspective, having lived in Colombia, you bring that to a classroom at Essex with other people from other parts of the world, and it really enhances and adds to that experience. As I mentioned, it's not just our students, it's our staff and academics who are from all over the world and come to be part of the Essex community. And it's also reflected in our curriculum. So you will find when you're looking at what's included within the programs that you're interested in, the curriculum is often has a very international emphasis. It's also a gateway to Europe. One of the great things about our location is we're really close to lots of airports. I'm often quite embarrassed and jealous when I speak to international students and they tell me about their amazing European adventures that they've been on, often to cities or countries that I haven't been to, having lived in the UK for most of my life. But it's super easy and often very cheap as well to travel as part of your experience studying in the UK. And as I mentioned, the Latin American Society, that is just one. We have a wide range of cultural societies and activities that take place on our campus. So employability, this is something that we understand is a big decision factor with students when they're deciding which university is the best fit for them, because of course, coming to study in the UK, it is an investment, and you want the best return on that investment, and to ultimately help with you getting your career or your preferred job once it is that you've finished studying. So this is something that we really do place importance on, and I always encourage students to take advantage of these opportunities to help improve your employability and stand out from a potential employer once you've graduated from university. So we have a really high statistic of students that are in highly skilled employment within 6 months of graduating from university. So that's 90% of our students. We have a dedicated career centre, and they can provide help, advice, support whilst you're studying at university, but also once you've finished your studies too. There's all sorts of workshops and events that take place. Sometimes they're department-led, sometimes they're more general. There are careers fairs that take place as well. As I mentioned, you're allowed to work part-time, whether that's on campus or off campus. Essex have a great few initiatives that can help students improve skills as well. And a couple of examples include our languages for all department and our data science for all too. So these are extracurricular courses that you can take where you can either learn a new language or learn skills in data science to help improve your employability and learn these new skills as well. There are volunteering opportunities, and just as an example, within our law school, we have a law clinic and a human rights clinic. They are it is an opportunity for students to meet with real clients and give legal advice in real situations. So they're great opportunities. And we also have Essex startups. So if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're thinking that you might want to start your own company, then you can go to the Essex startups team and pitch for money, and they can support you with growing that idea, developing that idea, and executing any business plans that you've got. So it's an amazing opportunity. I actually know of a student who I spoke to her from Chile yesterday. Since she graduated from studying at Essex, she is now on a different visa because she has started up her own business, and she's been in Essex for a couple of years. So she started her own business on the back of Essex Startup. So there are some amazing opportunities for those students that take advantage of all the extracurricular activities that are available to you. So I touched on this very briefly. This is a little bit of information about the graduate route. So once you've completed your studies, if you want to stay in the UK, you can do so for 2 years or 3 years after a PhD, which is a really exciting opportunity that the UK government introduced not too long ago. And this is just a snapshot. This list is not exhaustive. Of course, there are more employers and companies that our students have gone on to work for, but just to give you an idea, these are just a small handful of where Essex graduates have gone on to work. So this is something that I mentioned earlier about student support. We have a wide range of different support outlets depending on who you feel comfortable speaking to. At Essex, we have academic support. So every student, when they start with us, is assigned their own personal tutor. And that is someone that you can go to if ever you were to have any academic or course concerns. We have a student wellbeing and inclusivity team, and they're there to support students as well. You can rock up and just make an appointment one-to-one, or you can contact them by email, whatever you feel comfortable with. They also offer counselling and mentoring too. We have a students' union. Every university in the UK will have a students' union, and they also provide separate and confidential advice as well, whether that is on budgeting or if there was something else, perhaps you had a coursework concern but you didn't feel comfortable speaking to your personal tutor, then the SU can also provide support with that as well. So there's loads of different support outlets depending on who you feel comfortable reaching out to, but it is something that we place lots of importance on, especially for our international students, given that we have such a large student body. So application process, very quickly, applications are open for October 2024 entry. The application process, it is a direct application process. It doesn't cost you anything to apply, and it's all done online. The form itself will probably take you 20 to 30 minutes to complete, so it's not difficult or complicated. And you can choose up to 3 courses. So if, for example, you were interested in our Department of Government, and there were 3 programs that you liked the look of, you can choose up to 3 in one application. So bear that in mind if you're submitting the application to us. Once you've submitted the application, you can then track the progress and track your responses on your My Essex applicant portal. So the documents that you will need to provide do depend slightly on the programme that you're applying to study. You will at the very least need your most recent academic transcripts. If you've completed your programme, then that's great. Provide us with your final academic transcripts. You don't have to have completed the programme in order to submit the application. If you haven't completed, then please just provide us with your most recent academic transcript. You will need to write a personal statement, and that will need to explain why you're applying to study the programme, specifically why you're applying to study at Essex, and ideally why it is you want to study in the UK. If you have English language qualifications, then please provide this as part of the application process. But don't worry if you don't have them at the time of application. You can always provide that with us retrospectively. We do require a CV for some courses, however, not all courses. So that information should be fairly clear on our course web pages, whether a CV is required. However, please just contact me if anything's not clear, or if you need further information regarding that. And the same with references. Some courses require a reference, but not all courses. I believe you can submit the application without a reference, and then if we need that, we can always ask you for it retrospectively. So our tuition fees, these tuition fees are correct for 2024 entries. So if you're applying now to start in October, they do range ever so slightly, depending on the programme. So typically you're looking at just under 20,000 to about £22,500. That is the cost per year. And of course, for most of our masters, you're only just looking at 1 year. So that is the total cost. And for research courses or PhDs, the cost tends to be a little bit less, but just bear in mind that the programs will be longer. So what are Culfratoro students eligible for? You are entitled to a 25% tuition fee discount, and the only department where that is excluded is our East 15 acting school. So for all of our programs at Essex, apart from East 15, you would be eligible for a 25% tuition fee discount. Essex does a really great job, I should also add, at supporting students with cost of living. So things like food and accommodation, and you can check out how we can support students and also find an estimated cost of living. So for things outside tuition, housing, social life, travel, online, and you can see the link that's just on your screen there. So what are our entry requirements for students from Columbia? There are some variations. It does depend slightly on the program. Most of our courses, we would ask for a 3.5 minimum in your undergraduate qualifications. That is the minimum academic entry requirements. And sometimes there are subject-specific requirements. Again, the UK, generally speaking, we're very transparent in terms of what we need from our students. So you should find this information quite clearly on our course web pages. However, that's what I'm here for. If you were to have any questions, you can always contact me directly. And just to make a note that we do have English language requirements as well. We accept a range of English language tests at Essex, with IELTS and TOEFL being the most common. And they do vary slightly depending on the program, but for IELTS, we would typically ask for a 6.0 to a 7.5, depending on the program. So I think that's everything. My contact information is on your screen. You can always reach out to me directly. I'm always very, very happy to hear from students, and we can chat by email, by Zoom, by video call, whatever is your preference. But I hope that's a very brief summary and introduction to the University of Essex. And I'm thinking I'm handing back to Lady, and then we'll take some questions as well.
Good. So thank you, Emma, for all the information. We're gonna go ahead with the questions. So we do not have questions from Zoom. So if maybe the participants have any question, just send it by the Q&A box. And I'm gonna go ahead with the questions that we have from social media. And the first one is about the cost of living in UK. So maybe if you can give us an estimate of how many money they must have in order to live in UK.
Yeah, of course. So I should say it does vary quite a lot, the cost of living. And a good rule, I guess, is the closer you are to London, the more expensive the cost of living. However, even where we're located, which is pretty close to London, you do notice this huge difference in the cost of living just being slightly outside the city. And this question, it comes up often, what is the estimated cost of living? But of course, it depends on the student and your lifestyle preferences. If you're someone that likes to go to expensive restaurants, or you're partying quite frequently, then the cost of living is going to be much more than someone who's maybe a bit more careful with their money. The UK Home Office, they estimate that the cost of living outside of London is just over £1,000 a month. But to give you an idea, our cheapest accommodation at Essex, and I think you will find that apart from your tuition, the next most expensive thing is probably going to be your rent, so where you live. And at Essex, the cheapest accommodation starts at just over £100 a week, and then the most expensive is you can live in a studio apartment style living, and that is over £200. So that is more than double the price. So there really is a range of different options depending on your preferences. But I do think a fair average would be around 1,100, £1,500 a month. But like I say, it really does depend on the student. And like I said, the UK government estimates that the average cost is just over £1,000 outside of London. I hope that answers that. Sorry, that's a very long-winded answer, and I'll try and get that. Let me try and get that link so that you can see a breakdown of the cost of living that we estimate at Essex, which includes everything from housing to travel to study materials. Yeah, everything sort of outside your tuition. I'll try and get that link and pop it in the chat.
Okay, good. Let me check. We have one question here. So it's Diego, and he's asking, I consider my academic reference are not strong enough to what? To aspire to and win. Can it present exclusive professional references?
Um, I mean, the the admissions process in the UK, and I should say this answer is going to vary slightly between university to university and program to program. So I can't answer on behalf of every university, but what I can say is that the admissions process in the UK is based on your academic profile. So if your grades are matching what the university is asking for, so like I said, for Essex, most of our programs we ask for a 3.5. Sometimes, like as an example, our masters in public policy, we would ask for a 3.5 in any academic background. So you don't have to have studied political science or international relations or even a social sciences course in order to meet the academic requirements. You just have to be on track, or you have to have achieved a 3.5. As long as you're on track to achieve those grades, then you stand a very good chance of being admitted. And also, I should say for Essex, not all of our courses actually require a reference to be submitted. So depending on the program that you want to apply to study, Diego, I would say submit an application without a reference, and if we require one as part of the application process, we can request that retrospectively. I would say the most important thing is your academic transcripts and your grades and your personal statement, which is a compulsory part of the initial application process. Sorry, I know, again, a very long-winded answer, but I hope that helps.
No, don't worry, it's okay. So, talking about the personal statement, Laura wants to know some tips or recommendations for this personal statement.
So the personal statement, I'll get a link as well because there's some really helpful information that we've got uh, specifically to a master's and at Essex. Essentially, what our admissions teams are looking for is your interest and your knowledge and your passion about the subjects that you've applied to study. So you really want to tell us why it is that you want to study the program, what it is that you've studied at an undergraduate level that's inspired you or got you interested in studying that particular program at a master's level. If you have any career ambitions, tell us about that in your personal statement. If your degree that you're currently studying or previously studied is relevant, tell us how it's relevant to studying that master's. Tell us why you want to study it at Essex specifically, because your application is directly to the University of Essex. So tell us why Essex. And a good idea might be looking at the breakdown of the programme and seeing which modules or electives or classes excite you. And we want to know that you've done your research, essentially. So understand the programme that you've applied to study, and try and get that passionately into your personal statement. And then because you're international students and you're going to be coming to us from Colombia, tell us why it is that you want to study in the UK. So things like being part of an international student community is going to reflect well, I think. But essentially, we want to know that you've done your research, that you understand the programme, and that you're passionate about the subjects that you've applied to study.
Good, thank you. And then I'm gonna go ahead with Monica, and she wants to know more about the scholarships available.
So we do have a few scholarships at Essex. What I should say is you can't stack scholarships. So if you are a beneficiary of funding from Colfatoro, then you would automatically be eligible for a 25% tuition fee discount, which, as you saw from some of our courses, could be up to or even slightly over £5,000, which is up there with some of the most generous scholarships that we actually offer. So the 25% tuition fee discount is going to be one of the most competitive scholarships. At Essex, we do have other scholarship opportunities. Um, some are by application. So, for example, we have a Vice Chancellor Global Talent Scholarship. It is worth a 50% tuition fee discount, but it's extremely competitive. And you would need to submit an application for that one, demonstrating academic excellence, telling us about any extracurricular activities that you've done outside of the classroom that's relevant to the programme you've applied to study, and telling us how you intend on being a valuable addition to our global community at Essex. So that one is a separate application that you would need to do, as well as the application to study with us. And like I say, it's a competitive scholarship. But other than that, you're looking at Colfatura as being the most generous. And you can't stack scholarship. That's always the next question. Can you get more than one scholarship? Unfortunately not. So if you were eligible for more than one scholarship, then you would be awarded the one that is worth, you would be automatically awarded the one that is worth the most amount of money.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm gonna go ahead with the question that I have from social media about the language requirement, and they're asking if you accept the Duolingo exam.
No, we don't. Is the short answer. Yeah, unfortunately not. But there are alternatives. So as I mentioned, IELTS and TOEFL are the most common English language tests that we find that students take. But however, we do also take Cambridge Advanced, Cambridge Proficiency, Pearson, and I think there's a couple of others which I don't talk about that often because students don't often take those tests, but there are a couple of others. But unfortunately, Duolingo is not one of them.
Good. And the next question is about if they can have an unconditional admission if they don't have the English like certification.
No, so the English language would be would be something that we would need in order to make the offer unconditional. But it's a good question because that's we would be able to make a conditional offer without the English language. So if you want to submit the application but you don't yet have the English language test, you can still submit the application to us. We just wouldn't be able to make the offer unconditional until you've met the English language requirements.
Okay, good. And then I'm gonna go ahead with Juan Camilo, and he is asking, can I apply to the Shifting Scholarship with the University of Essex?
Yes, and I didn't mention that. Do be aware that the Achieving Scholarship deadline is approaching quite soon. But yes, at Essex we do have two full scholarships for students across Latin America. So absolutely, you can apply for Achieving Scholarship to study at Essex.
Yes, thank you. And the next question is about the like how easy or how difficult is to get a job once they finish their master's degree in UK.
That's a really good question. Let me give you a couple of examples. So let me just give you one example of a student who was working whilst she was studying first. So I can give you two examples actually. We had a master's student from Mexico and a master's student from Colombia who were both studying at Essex last year. And as part of their program, we employed them, I guess, to work in our office for about 7 to 8 hours a week for about 3 months. They were both amazing students, but also fantastic support to me. They helped with things like market research, social media, speaking to prospective students, and it was a really great way for both of them to earn a little bit of money whilst they were studying. Marlon, in particular, who's from Mexico, I was always amazed with how much additional things that she was doing. She was studying really hard for her master's, but she seemed to always be traveling or doing another part-time job or traveling or being part of the dance club. She was always doing these crazy things, and I had no idea how she also had time to study. But somehow she did and was very successful in her chosen field. So that's just one example of what you can do whilst you're studying. And I would say that Essex is a really good employer as well. So we recruit students to help with things like open days or working as country ambassadors or as research assistants. There's often opportunities within departments as well. So Essex is a really good employer whilst you're studying. And then with this new graduate visa, once you've finished university in the UK, it's so great that you can then apply for this visa without any pressure. So you don't have to have a job lined up when you apply for the graduate visa. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter if you take 2 days, 2 weeks, 6 months to find a job. Even if it takes you 18 months, you're not under any pressure. Of course, hopefully you find a job immediately, and I'm sure you would have the resources to be able to find a job within a very short amount of time, but you're not under the pressure to find a job or even to have the job before you apply for the graduate visa. So it is an amazing opportunity to then stay in the UK and get that experience working within your chosen industry or field once you've graduated from university. Essex does do an amazing job at supporting students, as I said, from a careers service point, from a careers team point of view, in terms of applying for jobs, getting you practicing with interview techniques, doing all sorts of workshops. And I would say as well that departments are often really well connected. So I really encourage students to get to know the people that are teaching you and within your department, because they're often very, very well connected globally. So it's such a great way to start building networks. And if you are getting in front of your academics and showing that you're passionate and enthusiastic, then the chances are they're going to just naturally open up opportunities to you. So yeah, I hope that is a brief summary, but of course it depends on the student, it depends on how proactive you are, and you do need to be proactive if you want to ultimately get a good job, but the opportunities are there for students to take advantage of for sure.
Good. Thank you, Emma. So I have the last two questions. And the first one is about if I want to travel with my family or with my husband, do you offer any help in those cases?
That is a good question, and the UK government have recently changed some rules. So if you're coming over to study, unless it's a research program or a PhD, then the rules have changed, and it's not as easy as it was, or even really possible to come over to the UK with your dependents or as a dependent. So I would really recommend that you check the UK Home Office website about the rules on coming over with family, but essentially, unless it's a PhD or a research postgraduate qualification, it's not going to be possible. But do check the UK Home Office for updates and more information on that specifically.
Okay, good. And the last question, let me check it. The person is asking if you can give us like some tips in order to improve the chances of being admitted to the programs.
Yeah, well, hopefully I covered that with the personal statement a little bit. And just you imagine how many personal statements and applications our admissions teams are reading. We get thousands and thousands. So I really encourage you to be authentic, to be genuine, and to be passionate about the subject that you've applied to study. Take time doing your research. You know, applications are open now, but there's no need for you to rush the application. We won't close applications. I mean, typically applications will remain open up until even July, sometimes August. So you have plenty of time. Some courses, there are an early application deadline, particularly courses like physiotherapy and some of our health and social care courses. And our business school will often close applications early based on the volume that they're receiving. So I would say if it's business that you're interested in, maybe try to get the application in before Christmas. But I think an ideal deadline or time frame for you is try to get that application in within the next few months, perhaps before the end of January. So you do have plenty of time. Take your time to do your research. So you're choosing the right program that's the best fit for you. Keep your options open by using your three choices. hopefully that way you end up in a position where you have three offers to three programs within probably the same department, and then you're in a position where you can really narrow down which one is the best fit for you. But you want to be applying to courses that are within your academic reach. So you have an idea of what your undergraduate qualifications are or are going to be. Apply to a program, apply to a university that fits within that minimum requirements that we're asking for. And if it's not clear, reach out to me. Please don't feel shy. I would be very happy to hear from you, and I can clarify exactly what the admissions requirements are. And I can even put you in contact, or I can speak to admissions on your behalf if there was something that wasn't clear. That's what I'm here for, to help. So yeah, I hope that is a good answer and clarifies.
Yeah, of course it is. Thank you so much, Emma, for all the information and for answering all the questions. So we're gonna finish the session, but before that, I just wanna say to the assistants that if they wanna help us with this short survey, the idea is that we wanna check how many people are thinking about the next call of Programa Crédito Beca. So I'm gonna share my screen so you can check the QR. The idea is that if you want, you can help us to answer this survey. Give me just one moment that I couldn't find it. Yeah, it's here. So I'm gonna give you just 1 minute. And if you wanna help us with that, you can just use your cell phone and answer this simple question. So just 1 minute. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much for the ones who help us with this survey. Now we're gonna finish the session, and I just want to know if maybe Emma, do you want to share some information before finishing the webinar?
Thank you, lady. I just did say that I did share some links in the chat, so hopefully some of you saw that, and some links to cost of living estimates, the personal statements, some really helpful pointers, the scholarship finder, and some country-specific information to students from Colombia as well. And I've put my email address in, so yeah, please keep in contact, and thank you for listening, and I hope it was useful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emma. So thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.